He told me to go back in there, read it, go over it in my mind, and then when I came out, I would just give him verbal breakdowns. So that, by the time I left Quentin, I had a pretty good understanding. I would still, I mean, it was just the beginning stages. I would still get a lot more. That wasn't seasoning. Seasoning didn't come until years and years later, but I had a pretty good understanding of what the Norteño cause meant. I was no longer blind. I understood prison, I understood the politics, I understood how things worked. Going through it, the hands-on, that didn't come yet, but at least my eyes were open. All right, you guys, it's episode 52 of War Stories, and without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. So let's keep it pushing, you guys. I'm 2 for 2. I'm going to jump straight into this one. So I'm going to take you guys back to 1996. Between 95 and 96. Now, I'm back in the county jail again. Don't get the wrong idea. I got into a lot of different issues when I was in the San Francisco County Jail, but it wasn't like I was a troublemaker or I was just trying to fight everybody that I ran across in the jail. But when I look back on it in retrospect, I got into a lot of shit in the San Francisco County Jail over the years. And a lot of it was just behind individuals that had a lack of respect. Individuals that think that they could talk to you any kind of way because they're up under that mass majority bullshit mentality, or it's a lack of education. They might have done a little bit of time in prison somewhere like H Unit in San Quentin, a camp, a lower level type of yard like that, and they think that they've really done time, so they got this chip on their shoulder. Well, a lot of the times that's what I would get into it over. Those type of individuals that would walk around with their chest poked out, bully type of individuals. Or sometimes, I'd end up running into, shout out to the Southsiders, Sureños in there, or, cats that I had personal issues with on the street, some street shit. Either I burned them, they burned me, or something happened out there and we see each other and it's something that needs to be dealt with. So in this particular situation, it ended up being over something petty, but usually a lot of the times something petty will end up escalating, and that's what happened in this situation. So I'm back in the county jail, in San Francisco County Jail. I catch another robbery. I can clearly remember this time because I was only there for a couple of days. I caught a robbery again. It was a dead bang slam dunk type of case where they pulled up on me, where I had the victim hemmed up and I even had a weapon in my hand, and they still kicked the case. So I'm there, I'm waiting on a bus. Now, when I move into, I believe it was C Tank that they housed me in at that time on the 6th floor in 850 Bryant. So I'm there for the first couple days. I don't have no issues. Again, I know a lot of Africanos from, growing up, from going to school with them, from out there on the streets, from juvenile hall, from, being in jail with them, a lot of them from prison. Any of you guys have been to the San Francisco County Jail, you'll know that there's a lot of Africanos that are in the jail. They're probably the majority of, people that are there in the jail. So they're always deep in the tanks, and for the most part, a lot of the older guys, man, they've done time. They're gamed up, and they carry themselves like convicts, professionals. They're not pushing their weight around. They're not trying to dictate something to you. It's the youngsters, and most of the time, it's over the TVs and the phones and stuff like that, or it's over just little petty things that have to do with the tank, like cleaning, or somebody not cleaning, or somebody just trying to bark some orders at you or something like that. Now, when I moved into C-Tank on this particular occasion, there wasn't no homies in there. Again, usually it's always like that. For whatever reason, I would land in a tank with the homie every once in a while. But for the most part, I would always be by myself. So I hit C-Tank, and, they dumped the case the next day, and now I'm just waiting on a bus. It's going to come any day. However, whenever I move into a new tank, like on the 6th floor at the San Francisco County Jail, I'm always evaluating everybody in the tank. I'm assessing who could possibly be a threat. How individuals program in there, what they're doing throughout the day. I just try to get a feel of what everybody's doing in there and how they program. And that's not only because I'm trying to respect everybody that's in there and how they move in that tank, because you're in a big tank, but it's still you're in a confined area with it can be up to 60 individuals in those tanks. You got people on the floor, but I watch everybody in there, what they do, how they program. This guy, he plays chess, he kicks it all day, he don't do nothing. This guy, he kicks it on the phone all day, cupcaking. This other guy, he's always on the gate trying to find some dope. These individuals are always watching TV. These guys are always working out. So I try to profile everybody. It's just a habit. It's part of my internal security. So, the first couple days when I get to C-Tank on this particular occasion, I'm watching some certain individuals, and already I can tell that these are the type of individuals that there's a strong likelihood that I'm going to end up bumping heads with them because of just the way that they move around in the tank. There's this one cat that he was an Africano, kind of big dude, always walking around without a shirt, flexing, trying to push up on people, always trying to bark orders at people in the tank. Hey, homie, hey, you need to, move your mattress over there, or going into other tanks that he doesn't even live in and trying to dictate stuff. I watch individuals like that, and it don't take me it don't take me long before I start not to like somebody like that. When I see somebody like that pushes their weight around and is just doing too much, I'll stay away from those individuals. I'll try to keep my distance from them because I'm not trying to get into it with everybody that I run across. That's not me. I'll fight if I have to fight. And if somebody needs to be put in check or confronted, I have no problem with that. But I'm not trying. For the most part, I try to avoid it. I'm just not trying to fight everybody that I run across. So, I see this individual. He's the type of dude that's, again, always walking around without a shirt all day long. He's cleaning in the tank, doing something, emptying the garbage, wiping down the tables, cleaning the shower, cleaning the toilet, wiping down the phones. But at the same time, he's kind of getting this mentality like this is his tank, that he has some type of authority over other people because they live in that tank with them. I don't know if I'm explaining it right to you guys, but I've seen a lot of individuals like that. They're a dime a dozen. So, I watch this individual and he's telling people, hey, they need to move over here, or, hey, you need to get in the shower. You've been over here for a couple of days and you ain't been in the shower. Just things like that, that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's necessary. You got somebody that's living in your tank and they're smelling like some fucking raw onions and just death. You know what I'm saying? You got to tell it, hey, bro, you gotta get up in that water, man. Out of respect for everybody. But that's not the type of dude this dude was. He was doing too much. He was going above and beyond. He was going in there trying to tell everybody, something, getting in people's, in their business, touching stuff that doesn't belong to them. There's certain things you just do not do in those environments. You don't put your hands on other people's property. You don't touch their bed area. You don't go nowhere near their bed area. There's unwritten rules, unwritten policies like that convicts learn. Convicts know better. But again, this was a youngster that had that mentality and he thought he was tough. So after a couple days, I remember he had said something to me, and I want to say it had something to do with, on a rotating schedule that everybody needed to clean something in the tank. And I don't have a problem with that. I do not have a problem with that. I live in the tank with everybody else, and I contribute to making messes or doing things that require the tank to be cleaned just like everybody else. So I don't have no problem pulling my weight. But at the same time, if you're gonna come and confront me or ask me, to take care of something, to step up and clean something because it's my time and you guys got a rotating schedule that's already established, that's cool. But you're not gonna come up and you're not gonna dictate it. You're not gonna come up and tell me, bark at me and tell me, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. This is the way we do it. No man is gonna allow that to be, is gonna allow himself to be talked to like that. Everybody is, wants to be afforded with that respect. And I wouldn't do no less than the same myself. You know, I'm very respectful. I'm very clean. I'm very, quiet when I do my time, especially in a dorm type of environment like that. I'm mindful of everybody else's space. That's just me. I've learned that over the years, and I've always been like that. But when somebody tries to push their weight around, that's where I draw the line. And I don't remember exactly what the dude said, but he said something to the effect of, it was my turn to clean, and I needed to clean by a certain time because they were coming through doing inspection or something like that. And that was the first time we had words. I told him, man, check it out, man. I ain't got no problem, stepping up and doing my part, but you ain't gonna talk to me like I'm some kind of fucking sucker, man. I'm not one of these wino bum riffraff motherfuckers that that you're used to talking to like that. You know what I'm saying? And from that point on, there was tension between us. I said what I said, he said something back, and we kind of left it at that. Now, I was only all this escalated within the course of like 4 days because I was over there for over the weekend. I think I got there on a Thursday. Friday, they dumped the case. Saturday, I got stuck because the buses don't run on Saturday, obviously on the weekend. So I spent the weekend in the San Francisco County Jail, and I knew I was going to be on that bus the first thing Monday morning. So anyway, there's a couple other Africanos in there that I knew I'd known from a long time. I'd known them from juvenile hall, Icy Mike, Frisco Mike. There's another cat named Junebug that was in there. There's another youngster that I was real tight with out on the street. He was from Sunnydale, Double Rock. And for those of you that have been around for a long time, as long as me, that are from the city, you guys will know who I'm talking about. He's from Sunnydale. They used to call him High Pursuit Newt, Rodney Newt. He had a family. Yeah, his family was well known out there. His dad was well known. I want to say he was robbing banks out there, but his family was the kind of family that was putting it down out there in Sunnydale, Double Rock. So High Pursuit Newt was there, Frisco Mike, Icy Mike, and a couple other cats, Junebug, and for the most part, they used to communicate with this individual, but they knew how he was as well because I used to watch how they used to interact with him, and they used to be like, "Man, shut up," you know what I mean? Quit crying. All you do is cry about shit. And he lightweight get into arguments with other dudes. So I knew it was coming, man. I knew it was coming. I could feel it every time, that cat came anywhere near me. I knew that there was the potential of it escalating quick because that's just how he was, man. And I tried to avoid it. I tried to avoid going anywhere near this dude. I never went by his tank where, I believe Junebug and Icy Mike lived in the same. I told you guys how the tanks are compartmentalized where you're in a big tank. That's all part of the tank you all are in, but then it's broken up into 4 small tanks. That's where the housing areas are at. So, I think they were in the same tank with this dude. Anyway, the day that everything happened, it was over the garbage. the dude came and told me something about, hey, it's your turn to empty the garbage, and that it consists of taking the garbage off and taking the bag and tying it up on the bars and this and that. And I'm like, check this out, man. I told you before to quit talking to me like that, man. Don't say nothing else to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't tell you shit. I don't say nothing to you because honestly, I don't fucking like you, man. You know what I'm saying? So give me that same respect. Quit talking to me. Just quit talking to me. I was already getting upset because the dude he was doing too much, man. And for those of you that have done time, I'm sure you know what type of dude I'm talking about. Always cleaning, always wiping shit down, acting like the tank belongs to him, like it's his tank. So, when we exchanged words, he barked back and said, hey, check this out, man. You ain't gonna be fucking talking to me. I don't know who the fuck you think you're talking to. And, it got to the point where we got in each other's face, and Frisco Mike and Junebug, and then they came over there and they separated us. They're like, nah, chill out, man. And this dude just continued to run his mouth. He continued to just run his mouth, and it's like, man, this tank right here, this is I hate to say this because he made it a racial thing, but he was like, this is this tank right here is run by the blacks, and ain't no fucking Mexican gonna come up in here and try to fucking dictate nothing. Soon as he said that, man, I was like, okay, you want to take it there, So that's what I'm talking about when I say that he's one of these type of cats that's up under that mass majority mentality bullshit. Just because you know he's got people there and they're deep that they can push that line and kind of dictate everybody else's program up in there. And I don't know about them other guys, what they allow their how they allow themselves to be dictated, but that's not me. So we separated the first time, but it seemed like this dude, every time he walked near me, he purposely kind of swole, he kind of puffed up to try to like bump into me or something. So he walked around the table and I was playing chess. By then I was playing chess with this older Africano. And I had even told him, man, I'm gonna end up getting into it with this dude. And this older Africano was a cool cat. And he was like, man, I wouldn't even waste my time with that dude. He's got a big mouth. But it ended up happening. So, this dude kept on walking around. That's all he was doing was wiping the tables, wiping the windows, wiping the bars, just like always just trying to get in your little space, man. Every time I turned around, he was like right behind me or, near me somewhere. So again, like I said, every time he walked around the table, it seemed like, he puffed himself up to be bigger so that he would like bump into me. So the next time the next time he did that, instead of letting him walk behind me, I backed up a step and I said, hey man, check this out. Quit walking behind me, man. Quit walking behind me and quit trying to bump into me, man. I see what you're doing. You need to stop playing games with me, man. And when I said that, this dude again got in my face, and that's all it took, man. That's all it took to where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to avoid it no more. And I took off on him. I took off on him. So we started fighting. We started fighting in the day room. And this dude wasn't no small dude. He was a good sized dude. So we start going at it. So when we're going at it, Frisco Mike and Junebug, they literally pushed both of us into a bed area. Like to go in there and fight in there, because when you're fighting out in the day room on the 6th floor, there's COs that are always walking by. They'll see you, and plus you can hear you out. It's louder when you're fighting in the day room. You're in one of the little tanks. You're kind of tucked away, and it's a small area, and you guys do your thing. So we started doing our thing. Now keep in mind, 96. I'm 26 years old. I'm healthy. I've only been out of prison for a couple months. My wind is up. I'm doing 1,000 burpees, practically almost every day. Not at that time, right when I came into the jail, but within a week, trust me, my burpee hand would be back up to 1,000 as soon as I hit San Quentin. So my point is I'm healthy and I got some size on me and I got my youth. So we start going at it inside the tank. And dude had hands. He had some lightweight hands, but I had the edge on him straight up. We're going at it, boom, ba, bing, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba. And it got to the point to where I started talking to him when I started whooping his ass. I'm like, where you going, man? That's all you got? Because he fired on me a couple times. He cracked me a couple times. And that gets me mad. When somebody punch me in my nose, if you don't knock me out, it's going to get me mad. And that's what happened. I got to the point where I just started seeing red and I started drilling this fool. I had him on a bunk and I started just bombing. Bing, bop, bing, bop, bing, bop, bop. I'm throwing haymakers at this fool. And make no mistake about it, he's giving it back to me. So we go at it for a good minute. I don't knock him out. He don't knock me out. We thumped, man. We did our thing. And when we were done, I had some knots on my face. He had some knots on his face. But when Frisco Mike and Junebug came in, they separated us and they were like, that's enough, man. That's enough. You guys need to stop. Well, I thought this fool just had a busted lip. He walked out and he was like, nah, fuck that, man. He's like, fuck that shit. This motherfucker, man, he's got to go. He's got to roll it up. He's got to get up out. This motherfucker really thought he was going to roll me up. He was like, he can't stay up in here, man. He's got to fucking go. He's like, he knocked my fucking teeth out, bro. This motherfucker, either his teeth were rotten or they came out easy because I knocked 3 of his fucking teeth out. Old boy was pissed. So I'm sitting on the table and I see Mike and Junebug. They're standing right there next to me and they're just like, hey, just let this dude, let him run himself up out of here because, he's going to end up running himself up out of here. So he grabs my mattress. He throws it on the floor. He's like, fuck this motherfucker gotta go. He ain't staying up in there. Look at my fucking mouth, man. He fucking knocked my fucking teeth out, man. He's like, this ain't just no fucking busted lip or no, black eye. This punk ass motherfucker knocked my teeth out. So he's trying to get to me now. He already threw my mattress, threw my blankets and shit on the floor. And I'm just like, whatever, man. Whatever. You got the worst of it, and he's walking around the tank and they're telling me, man, you just need to chill out, man. Frisco Mike's telling him, just chill out. And this dude, he's spitting up so much blood. You lose 3 teeth, you're going to spit up a lot of blood. He's spitting blood everywhere, on the floor, in the toilets, in the sink. Finally, he's like, I gotta fucking go to the dentist. I gotta go to the doctor. He's like, my fucking mouth, it won't stop bleeding. So he gets on the gate and he calls his COs. And basically, because he did that, they obviously knew he got into some kind of drama. They didn't know it was with me. They had no idea. I mean, they didn't even come in. The Frisco County Jail, the COs over there, a lot of them grew up in the hood. A lot of them were YGC counselors, and a lot of them knew us when we were kids. So a lot of times when we used to get into fights, they don't give a fuck. They'll let us do our thing, and they wouldn't even write you up. They just come in, get somebody, the perpetrator or the victim, walk them out, and that's it. So they ended up taking this dude out, taking him to medical or something to go sew his fucking gums up, but he never came back. He never came back. But, anyways, this was a short one, you guys. This was more like of a learning experience for me when, I was doing time. I was in my mid-20s, 26. But, these type of individuals right here, like I said, I used to run across them a dime a dozen, especially in the county jails. Not so much so in prison. You got a lot of wild youngsters that have that same mentality in prison, but by then their people usually get at them and tone that ass down. The county jails, it's always like an area that it's primed to get into drama over, shit like that. The phones, the TV. I got another one for you guys. I'll tell you, it's about Santa Rita County Jail. The only one time that they let me out there on the main line in Santa Rita. It was the only time I ever been to Santa Rita. And, I landed in a pod. They let me go out to the general population, the dorms. I landed in a pod where there was like 5 other homeboys. I get there, the homies don't have the equal amount of phones as the Africanos, and they only got like 1 or 2 tables. It was all messed up in there, but there was a lot of wild youngsters that had that same mentality. They were up under that mass majority bullshit mentality that biggest bully on the block, you know we run this tank type of mentality. And as a northerner, just as that's something that we've always been exposed to, not from usually not from Africanos, from other group segments, but that's something that we've been schooled, we've been primed, educated, and indoctrinated not to allow this type of to be victimized like this. So it wasn't going to be no different with these types of individuals. But I went over there. I'm going to end up telling you guys this whole story that happened, but I got over there and I got with a couple of older Africanos that I knew, and eventually we got our phones and we got our tables, and there were some other things that needed to be addressed, but we almost ended up getting into a melee over there. And I told you guys, I've always been somebody that really embraced the alliance with the Africanos. And this was long before my time. It was something that was already in effect. It was already implemented when, I first came into the system. And it was just something that I embraced because that's what it was. I told you guys how, things kind of escalated in Quentin. It got to the point, it got so bad. Well, this is a bonus. Okay, so I told you guys what happened in the incident in the county jail where this fool got his grill knocked out. So that's pretty much what happened, with that. He never came back. I ended up catching a bus. I was gone. But unfortunately, because that fool had a big mouth, he ended up losing 3 teeth that day, which is a bad thing. I'd be mad. I'd be mad too if somebody knocked 3 of my teeth out. That's something that, you can't, like he said, it's not like he had a black eye or a busted lip that's just it's gonna heal up. You lose 3 teeth, they're gone. They ain't growing back. So homeboy was pretty upset. Anyway, so being in Quentin towards, towards the late 90s, things really started to deteriorate as far as the alliance. Everything that happened in Corcoran, it kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But still, I still never gave up on a lot of the Africanos. I treated them on a case-by-case basis. And, I was real tight with a couple of them on death row that I've told you guys about before. Jarvis Masters, left hand. And then you had Yero Scary, Freddie Taylor out of Richmond. They were both BGF members on death row that had a lot of influence. Now, these dudes were gamed up, and a lot of them got educated by a lot of old school C's back in the day. So they were just like us as far as bringing pedazos out, their security, the way that they functioned, their mentality. It was almost like dealing with some homies, except they were Africanos. It was a trip, but, I embraced it. Now, when I was in Quentin towards, like I said, the late 90s, things just started to get different. I was always, when we were out there on that 6-yard, that infamous 6-yard in the back behind death row, behind East Block back there, I remember hitting that yard back in the days when we used to march. We used to go out there. The first thing we would do was line up 2 lines side by side, and we would march. And when you got 60, 70 dudes that for the first 2 laps, we would march. We would shut all the yards down, everybody, because it's loud. When you're doing it all in sync, and you got 70 dudes that are all marching, all the death row yards would look over like, what the fuck? But it was us, the Africanos, and we used to run our cadence, through the wall, freedom calls, up the hill. almost home, machine, machine, mush. So, we'd run the first 3 laps, we'd march, then we'd sprint, then we'd go into our machina and our calisthenics. And the yard, there was a lot of, canalismo out there. There was a lot of unity out there between us and the Africanos. We were tied in. They used to get down right next to us with on the machina, and we used to be out there sweating in the hot sun together. Now, over the years, everything happened in Corcoran, and then things just started to get funny. A lot of the times when we'd be out there on the 6 yard, the new 6 yard that was in front of, where is it at? I think it's in front of like D block, Donner, right outside on the upper yard. A lot of the Africanos, they wouldn't want to work out. Some of them be out of shape, and there was no enthusiasm. There was no motivation, no inspiration out there, where we come on, let's go, let's push, pull, strive. There was none of that. It was just like, let's do this machina so we can smoke our cigarettes and just kick it. So, I seen that, and the spirit was kind of dying out there, and it was. I took it personal. Man. It was hard to see that happening, because I put a lot of emphasis, like I said, in that alliance. Now, right before I left, the last time I was over there in San Quentin, obviously I had the keys. I was running Quentin at that time, and there was a couple Africanos over there, Shorty Ross, out of Oakland, and a couple of his boys. Well, they were all on the second tier in Carson section. Now, at that time, the PCs were on the first tier. So Shorty Ross and them, they used to smoke like broken trains. They used to smoke tobacco, and that's all they would do is just smoke, smoke, smoke. So being that they were on the second tier, what they were doing was they were doing transactions with the PCs on the first tier. A lot of those PCs down there had, open lines with East Block, and they'd get tobacco, and then they'd sell it to the Africanos out there on the yard with us. Now, it started to become an issue. It was something that I wasn't trying to dictate their program, but look, man, if we're out there on the yard together and we're functioning together and we're out there basically on the same page, we're functioning under the same policies, guidelines, and we're together out there, there's a level of unity on the yard. That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to stay like that, right? But what part of the game is it when, you're back in the unit and you're on the second tier and you're fishing with individuals that are on the first tier that spend their entire day and night disrespecting the homies that are still active upstairs. That's all they did was stand there on their gates, disrespecting the homies working out. They try to yell over the cadence or, call out certain individuals and just disrespect them openly on the wire. And they're going to do that. You can't stop it. That's all they do. Like I said the other day, it seems like some of these dudes can't stand to hear, the demons, their inner demons talk to them. If they're too quiet, they don't talk shit all day and they can't hear their self talking, they hear those demons. So they can't stand the quiet, to be quiet. But, what part of the game is it that you're fishing or you're doing transactions with the same dude that just disrespected your fellow yardsman a couple minutes ago? He just got through calling him a punk bitch, piece of shit, and 5 minutes later, you're dropping a line down to him doing a transaction. So, things kind of escalated. It got to the point where I had a conversation with Shorty Ross and a couple of them other Africanos, and I told him, look, man, your interactions with the PCs is starting to become too much, man. It's starting to affect the unity out here on the yard. And I'm not trying to dictate nothing to you, but On the real, come on, man. You know, we have a certain, there's certain codes that we function under and we respect as allies. And we support each other. We're on the same yard. We have to. We'll go to war with anybody that comes through that gate side by side with you guys. With that said, though, you know, I'm asking you, man, to please stop dealing with those PCs down there because they're disrespecting my people, man. And I listen to it and then I hear you guys doing transactions with them. It rubs me the wrong way, man. And if it's the tobacco, if it means that much, I'll get you some tobacco. But we wouldn't acknowledge your PCs, the Africanos, that fell out of favor with you. These are people that they either told on you, they did something, that warrants where they're at when they were a part of us. So they belong where they're at. Understand they're there for a reason. You might not know what that is, but by you doing transactions with them, you're also catering to their needs. You're helping them too, man. So, we were going back and forth about it, and Shorty Ross said that he would respect it, but still, I got elephant ears. You can ask anybody that's done time with me. Ask your boy Rojo over there. I used to hear him sleep on the second tier. If somebody called him more than 3 times, I would hear it. There'd be 1,000 conversations taking place, and something out there is going on. I can hear it. But I would hear these guys whispering to the guys on the first tier, trying to do it on the sly, on the slunders. And I'd get at him, come on, man, I hear you down there. You know what I'm saying? And the homies down there with you, he sees you fishing. Like, what's up, man? So things got kind of foul, man. It got to the point where it's like, man, you know what? If that's how we're gonna do it, we're just gonna the yard will be separate, and you guys do your work. You're mocking over there, and we'll do ours over here. And I hope it never has to come to that, because come on, man, what kind of unity is that? This is something that's been in effect since the 70s, the 60s. And I'm not trying to be the one to destroy it. And I didn't. A lot of the homies that were there were like, you know what? Just go ahead and pull the trigger, B. Pull the trigger. What they're doing is disrespectful, and they're not functioning like, a lot of their people, their righteous people, how they function. But I wasn't willing to do that. I wasn't willing to be the one to pull the trigger. Not on, especially the way that I felt about that alliance. However, when I left, the homies ended up pulling the trigger, and they ended up getting into it on the 6 yard. So, when I heard about it, I was like, it's sad, man. It's unfortunate that had to happen. And now that alliance is like, I hear some Africanos talk about it on some, certain channels. I hear other people talk about it, and it's sad, man, to hear how far things have relegated, because, man, we used to be tight. We used to be strong allies, man. We used to be willing to go out there, and if I had to carry a piece, drop a piece, and take it out there and get off with you, or get out there first and get your back, secure you on the gate before, a potential enemy came out, that's what we would do without a second thought, man. But anyways, I know I kind of veered off and got onto something else, but, it kind of tied into this right here. So it is what it is. Anyways, it's something for you guys to listen to. It's content. That's the main thing. Some of you tell me that, hey, B, you help us get through our day when we're doing work. So it is what it is, man. If I'm here rambling on about something, at least it's content, right? But on the real, I'm going to start dropping more war stories. I got bangers for you guys. There's just some things that I want to get out first before I get into all that stuff. I got some of the ones that I know you guys are looking for. I'll be dropping those. Also, I'll be getting back into the inner demons. We're getting to the point where we're coming pretty close to where I'm back out in San Jose, and a lot of stuff starts happening. So it's going to start to heat up. Anyways, We'll be on the live again within the next day or two. I'm gonna get that profile out if it kills me. It's just I'm struggling with it, but it's for a purpose. I don't want the information to be convoluted. So I'm making sure that everything is on point. Anyways, this your boy B. This episode 52, and I'm out.